I saw the story and I sent you this link, Spike, and I wanted to talk about it on the show today. The interesting part about this was I had a tough time finding information out about this, even though I think the topic and what happened is quite newsworthy. And I couldn't understand why all the local news stations just completely neglected to cover the story. This makes no sense to me. The only place I found information was at I think it was the UW Daily did a report on this.
Correct, the school newspaper.
And then what I found on X that was posted by the person herself. I'm speaking right now to Olivia Krolczyk, who joins us now. Olivia, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Olivia, you were at UW. This was an event last night. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And you were there speaking on behalf of, you're speaking for Turning Point USA, which is Charlie Kirk's organization. Is that right?
So I was there on behalf of the Riley Gaines Center, and Turning Point is the group that hosted me at the festival.
Gotcha. Yes. And Riley Gaines, the famous swimmer who has been very, very outspoken about the importance of women's sports and being able to have fair competition in women's sports. So you were speaking last night, Olivia, or at least planned to. And what happened at the UW campus?
Well, first off, I plan to go to campus and talk about the basic truths. There's man and woman. Men do not belong in women's sports. We deserve free speech. All those, basic topics that shouldn't be that controversial. And I was immediately met with resistance on campus. I could not walk 10 feet without seeing a flyer or a poster for the organized protest against my speech. The university themselves they knew this event was happening. They are hosting safe spaces and counseling yesterday and today because of the transphobic speaker, me, being on campus. So I show up to the building where the event was being held, and there were easily 200 protesters, if not more, doing choreographed dances. They had flags and flyers and posters, screaming and music and everything you could think of.
So you should have been in support of all that because that is just free speech, right?
Of course. I have
agree.
multiple videos of me actually dancing with them because what a wonderful way to protest, And
Absolutely.
I saw in one of the videos, I think it was line dancing, which I wouldn't expect from protesters.
Not here in the Northwest.
On the UW campus.
Jake. There is time and a place for line dancing, and this isn't it.
This isn't one of them, I guess.
If you're a line dancer, I apologize.
No, they were line dancing, right, Olivia?
I know.
Yes, they were to country music. I was like, okay, it's kind of ironic.
Yeah,
right.
Let me ask you this, Olivia. There's all those signs, which I imagine you give these speeches around. You go to college campuses and you give these speeches. This obviously is not the first time that you've encountered people who disagreed with the message that you would be giving. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Actually, it's not even the first time that the Riley Gaines Center has experienced it. Riley Gaines herself had to negotiate her way out of a room after being held hostage at San Francisco State for speaking about the exact same topics. I myself, actually, at University of Cincinnati, I was failed for talking about the topic in a classroom. So it's definitely not a unique story. It's just this one just happened to blow up a little bit. But I think it's because what seemed to be a respectful protest turned very violent in the matter of minutes. That they ended up holding us hostage in a room.
That's
they
the part.
blocked all of our.
Let me ask you about that. Let me ask you about the part where they hold you hostage, because you're there to give a speech, and we live in a country where we have this amazing thing where we can speak freely about our ideas, and we can disagree with people vehemently about ideas, and you can post flyers, and you can protest.
You can line dance.
And you can line dance even if you want to. God forbid you line dance. But you could if you really wanted to. But they barricaded you inside this room. Is that right?
Correct. They blocked all the entrances and exits. So we were essentially just sitting there with
essentially falsely imprisoned. So what was the University of Washington response to this? How long were you in the room, and when did the university step in and kick the protesters out and say, listen, guys, you can't infringe on her right to... I imagine you were invited by a group on campus?
By Turning Point Group. We have yet to hear a statement from the University of Washington addressing the situation. They certainly don't care about the safety of their students. We had to get some security officers. We were able to get the university campus police to come to the event. Of course, we only had 10 officers to the 200 protesters, which clearly we were outnumbered. And then we were obviously locked into the room, but the protesters ended up breaking windows, throwing stuff into the room, pulling the fire alarms. I mean, it was It was crazy, and I actually applaud the officers that we did have. They did a great job with what they could do. Obviously, we were very outnumbered, so yeah. But we have yet to hear from the actual university a statement on the situation.
Was there no liaison from the university? I imagine if there's 200 protesters who are damaging school property, that there would have been like a campus security notification that would go out. That seems really dangerous to me, especially if somebody's being locked in a room. How is it that nobody from the university came down and said, hey, guys, we've got to put a stop to this. This is not okay. That could really lead to quite a bit of, you could be in a really dangerous situation. Somebody breaks glass, somebody gets cut.
Well, being barricaded into a room is an unsafe situation. There are codes for safety for a reason.
Yeah.
And Olivia, I got to tell you, I am diametrically opposed to your point of view on the trans issue. I am with you on equity not equity, but fairness in women's sports. I'm there with you on that one. But your right to speak is something. That's a hill I'll die on. That, like Jake said,
she should have it. Yes, she should have it.
Absolutely, you should have it. And the University of Washington, if you're invited by a group that's a sanctioned organization on UW's campus, the Turning Point Group at UW, has a speaker invited to speak. That speaker should be given. And there should be protesters out front. They should be dancing and hanging out flyers, whatever they want to do. Let their free speech be expressed and their point of view known. But inhibiting your ability and your safety in doing so, that's a bridge too far. I can't back that.
Absolutely. And I mean, President Trump signed an executive order a couple days ago saying that campuses and colleges that do not allow free speech will lose their federal funding. So I can firsthand attest to University of Washington not allowing free speech on their campus. And obviously they did nothing to ensure safety of the students last night. So I'm anxious to see what we can do with this.
Can you give me a little insight? Were any students from UW? Because obviously the point of people protesting is expressing that they don't agree with what you're saying, which again, that's great. We protect that in America. We want people to be able to protest, but you don't stop somebody else from hearing somebody else's ideas. That happens in different countries. That shouldn't be happening in America. So was there any UW students that were able to make it into the room with you, and what was their reaction? Is there basically if there were, they were barricaded with you, I assume, inside the room?
So yes, the protesters actually blocked off the road to stop anyone from coming into the event. So anyone who wanted to come, it was kind of difficult to get them in. We had maybe like 10 people in the room, most of them being Turning Point students who were like helping coordinate the event. We actually had a couple straggling protesters inside of the event. And once they like pulled some sort of alarm, it wasn't a fire alarm, but a different alarm. Apparently that was their signal to like release balloons in the room and then like run out. So a couple of them did get inside. But yeah, so we didn't actually get to give the speech to any of the students, which I apologize so much for. I feel so bad, but we will be sure to come back to campus and get that done.
It's so sad because that's the protesters got what they wanted. They just cause chaos and they wreak havoc and they scare people. Imagine being a student at UW. And maybe you're curious, maybe you disagree with what Olivia has to say, but you want to go and find out what she has to say and just hear her point of view, just so you can be even more well-rounded in your thoughts and feelings, even if they're diametrically opposed to what Olivia has to say. But you don't even have that opportunity because good luck. You think the average student is going to wade through 200 people causing chaos and in some cases line dancing, but 200 people outside breaking windows and locking people in a room? I mean, for a UW student, what are they supposed to do in that situation?
Exactly. I just think this whole situation is ridiculous. Absolutely. It's a lot worse than I thought because, the week leading up to it, I received a lot of messages saying don't come to campus, or I actually have an edit that's like Criminal Minds, like telling me to not come to campus or else. And usually those are just empty threats. And so I can't even imagine being a conservative student on campus and then trying to come to these events and being a part of these groups. I can't imagine ever fitting in on campus if that's the case. This is very severe. I went to a liberal school, but I never had to deal with something to this extent.
Now, you said you feel that the University of Washington didn't support the event and didn't promote free speech. But do you think they should be held accountable for the actions of a handful of students who got violent and got destructive? Seems to me that they provided you with an opportunity, provided you with a space and a permit to speak, and then provided security to make sure that you were. I mean, it was a terrible situation that went too far. And I don't support the obstruction of your safety, the breaking of windows, the vandalism of false fire alarms. Those put people in real danger. But what could the UW have done more to guarantee that you had the right to speak, the opportunity to speak, and your safety?
Well, I think they absolutely should have had more security when they knew the number of people that were coming out based on their posts that they have on social media. These flyers have been up on campus for days. Like I said, you can't walk 10 feet without seeing them. So they should have known that there were going to be a lot of people there. I didn't know because I haven't been on campus. And also the University of Washington has a couple Instagram accounts that were posting about providing safe spaces and providing counseling for students. So they did everything in their power to make sure that the opposing side was comfortable and safe, but did nothing to check in on us even during the event. And, we absolutely should have had more security at this event.
Also, for the UW students that might have made for the few that may have gotten there earlier, or the students that were, obviously who helped set up the event, which is why you were there.
Yeah.
You're being locked in a room by crazy people outside. You don't know what crazy people are going to do.
That's horrific.
And I guarantee you, not everybody in that protest outside. I can't say this, but my guess is that many of them were not University of Washington students. So you could have bad actors who are coming in off a campus. You said there was about 200 outside the room. Is that right, Olivia?
Yes. Yeah.
You got 200 people out there. God knows what they're going to be doing. Did anybody get arrested last night?
Nope. They probably will face absolutely no consequences, if I had to guess.
And then in the wake of this, UW says, hey, we want to provide safe spaces for you guys to talk about the trauma that you faced. Just having somebody on the campus who was locked in a room where windows were broken and barricaded into and held against your will, why are they not providing a safe space for you? That doesn't provide the safe space for the speaker. That's the university's job. So, Spike, I would answer the question for her this way. You said, did the university do everything they could have done
more? Yeah.
They could have made sure that she had the opportunity to speak. I think they definitely should have said, hey, students, this is not okay. Send a university person down there. Send one of the chancellors. Send somebody down there with cops.
Was there representation before trouble broke out, or did those 10 police security officers arrive after things got out of hand?
No, we had the security officers with us the entire time. But like I said, there weren't very many of them.
But if they had the security ahead of time, they knew something bad was going to happen, which is why they provided the security.
It's a matter of degree, is what we're discussing.
Yes. Yeah.
I think the university, if you're talking about windows breaking and you're talking about somebody being forcefully held against their will, locked in a room.
And a pattern of this type of action and behavior from people opposed to these events.
I think the university absolutely bears responsibility for partially, at least for this. I'd be shocked if they didn't.
I'll be interested to see how our home university responds to this and to your situation.
And that's if they respond.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We have yet to hear anything from them.
Do you hope for a response, or do you think they're just going to keep silent?
Well, I'm not going to keep silent, so therefore they're kind of going to be forced to have to give a response. When that will come, I don't know, but I will be waiting for it.
Are you going to plan an event to make up for the missed event last night?
Absolutely, and we're hoping that University of Washington will be covering the expenses because that's the least they could do.
And let me know when, because I'm going to work on my line dancing.
There you go. Olivia,
absolutely.
Olivia Krolczyk, who was on UW campus last night. I'm sorry that happened to you. That's awful. Yeah. It does not represent everybody in Seattle, as crazy as those people at UW might be. And, even folks who disagree with what you're saying, you should absolutely be able to speak to those students and express your opinion and your thoughts. So I hope you do plan on coming back and speaking again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will, for sure.
All right. That's Olivia Krolczyk.
Thanks for making the time for us.
Yeah,
we appreciate
with the Riley Gaines
Thank
Foundation.
You.
Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it. That's a crazy story, Spike.
It is, and again, with all due respect, I completely disagree with the points of view that Olivia stands for and speaks for.
The women in sports. Yeah, you said you were on the same page.
We're there, but this young woman's courage and rights shouldn't be impeached in any way, shape, or form.
And the University of Washington, this is a really bad look for them. For them to
in a series of really bad looks for them.
In a series of really bad looks
with the Middle Eastern troubles and the protest situations at the UW.
Everyone's setting up in the quad.
Yeah,
the anti-Semitism.
Yeah, and it wasn't just specific to the UW either.
No, I know. Yeah, but we're local here, and we're talking about the UW. And they had these issues. They need to deal with those issues.
Agreed.
You need to.
All your
college
students.
Campus. Do you remember going to college? Like when I was in college, I expected you leave high school. You go into college and you get to act like an adult and you get to have interesting conversations.
That wasn't my experience in college, but I see where you're going.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I mean, like
you grow up.
You are kind of an extended childhood in some way. There's some arrested development.
You take chances, you make mistakes, you learn from them, you grow up.
You have conversations with people you wouldn't normally cross paths with in life or haven't up until that point in your small life before you head to college.
That's what's supposed to happen.
That's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But if all you're getting on a UW campus is people who think the same way, and if you don't think the exact same way, you're not even allowed to express those ideas. Why would a parent ever send their kid to University of Washington if they can't provide a safe space for kids and young people to express ideas and to hear other ideas? It's good for everybody, even if you don't agree.
I agree with you there.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
These minority points of view just deserve representation and rights and the ability
It's
to
a college
speak up.
campus.
Yeah, you're here.
And if they're going to get federal funding, then they need to provide those spaces. And if they can't do that, then no more federal funding. That's what I would do. All right. We have a lot more coming up. We have we agreed on that one, but we have some disagreements next.